what I like so much about this movie is that it just felt relevant. It felt like a movie of today. It's fresh and it's smart and it's a cool spin on like the slasher flick, which we've gotten a lot of this year with X, with Scream. So we're seeing a lot of horror films of this kind of nature coming back.
Hello and welcome to the movie podcast review of Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. My name is Shahbaz, and of course, I'm joined by my two other fellow party animals or party hosts, co-hosts, murderers. You be the judge. Here I have Daniel.
What's up, party bros?
Is that your? Hold on. Is that your party voice?
That's my frat boy voice.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
It's a little raspy because of all the yelling I've been doing.
And the cigarettes you've been just chain smoking, I guess.
Yeah, I just eat them.
Oh,
I don't even smoke them. I just
you
eat
skip
them.
the steps. You skip a couple steps, and you're like, why smoke them when I can just eat them?
No, I'm just eating them. I'm not even lighting them either.
No,
I'm just eating them whole. Yeah,
just with the filter. And of course, I have Anthony, who actually looks like a frat bro right now. Anthony, how are you?
I'm doing well. I don't have a saying, but I would say cowabunga dudes.
Man, I would never invite any of you to a party. I'll be honest right now.
I thought you were going to call Anthony. I thought you were going to say that Anthony looks like a cigarette. I'm like, dude, that is so mean. That's such a mean thing to say about someone.
That is mean. But I wouldn't say that, and that didn't even cross my mind, Anthony. So I just want to make sure you're okay.
Yeah,
crossed my mind.
I'm okay without not being called a human cigarette. Thank God.
Yeah, but
I don't know how.
Why
Why would I look like a human cigarette?
I don't know.
Anthony put his hands on the sides right now, so
there's some sort of subliminal thinking going on here that Daniel has this idea that I'm a walking, talking cigarette.
Daniel wants to light you on fire, and then that's it. Maybe that's really about it.
This is not Hereditary, man.
I was gonna say, have you seen Hereditary? Yeah, that's what I want to do.
Well, how are you guys doing today? Like, do you guys have any cool party stories before we kind of get started with this review? Because this movie is about a crazy, wild party. Anthony, I know that you were at a cottage this weekend. So any crazy party stories from your cottage memories?
No, I tend to whenever I'm in groups with groups of people, I tend to stay away from the group of people. Just because that's just me as in general. But no, we didn't have any crazy things other than I guess a lot of drinking, a lot of drugs, a lot of alcohol.
That's drinking, I think. Yeah.
Is that the plot of this movie?
Pretty much. Yeah. This is we did TikTok dances. We didn't get paranoid, so some did.
Anyone die?
Some people did. One person.
Oh,
they're in the forest somewhere.
Twist. Oh, we got to find him.
No, just kidding.
Review.
Just kidding. No, I have no idea what we like. For me personally, again, I'm just this really chill dude. I don't. Whenever I'm at a party, I'm like, you talk to me. You don't. Whenever it's the end of the night, I'm going to bed. Sayonara.
That's literally our relationship with Anthony, though.
Literally.
Yeah, that's why I'm so confused.
You guys would call me and be like, "You want to go out, Anthony?" I'm like, "Okay." And then when that night's over,
right.
See you guys.
Goodbye. Yeah,
Bye.
See ya. Good night.
I'm not wrong.
I'm not a robot, though. I'm not a robot.
I have emotions.
Dan, what about your stuff? Any crazy party stories from your life?
Shay, listen, I'm not allowed to talk about ongoing investigations, so I appreciate you asking me.
Did you kill the guy at Anthony's party?
All I'm going to say is that in my younger years, in my younger 20s, I'm in the last leg of my 20s right now. So I see these kids in this film, and I'm like, I remember when I was like you 3 years ago. No, I was never a crazy party person. I was just always I was a good boy.
That's good. I'm glad to hear that.
What about you, Shay?
Yeah, I remember you telling me about a party that the ambulance was called. I think you got into a fight with a raccoon. There was a lot of things that happened.
You're describing the plot of Everything Everywhere All at Once right now, I think.
That's what I am describing. You're right. Yeah.
How's
your daughter, by the way?
What? No, I've definitely had some crazy party stories. I was a bit rambunctious in high school. I think there was definitely ones where, the police were called and, things like that. Fights broke out. But I'm past that now. I'm a good person. I mean, again, I never caused those fights anyway, so I was just there. I was
I mean, this is only one side of the story, so
this is. I remember. I'm not gonna lie. I remember I was once at a party and I was leaving, and people were leaving this party with like toasters and microwaves and like different appliances in the house. And I was like, and I was very not drunk, and I was like, "Hey, what are you guys doing?" And they're like, "Oh, we're just taking this." I'm like, "Oh, they must have been party favors I must have missed out on."
Yeah,
So
those are the loot bags. Yeah, I think they
yeah,
were sponsored by Sears at the
yeah,
time.
I should
Yeah,
have taken a toaster with me on the way out. But hey, man,
yeah,
that is how it goes.
sure. Why not?
Yeah. But you know what? Speaking of toasters, you can always catch a brand new episode of the Movie Podcast every single Monday. And watch out throughout the week, just like this one is a review episode. We drop them randomly. Sometimes that's all we drop in a week is just review episodes because there's so much stuff to review. We didn't even have a main episode this week. And you guys were probably like, oh, we didn't realize because there was still so much content. So, hey, that's what we do here at the Movie Podcast. Make sure you follow us at the Movie Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Letterboxd. Is there somewhere else that we're on that YouTube? Of course. Follow us on YouTube.
Of course, yeah.
Subscribe to us. We're trying to get 1 million subscribers by
We're
the end
actually
of next
on
week.
YouTube right now. Did you know that? Like
Yeah,
right now.
We are. You're watching us
while
now.
you're
right
talking,
now?
Shay. We're actually on YouTube, which is
Are we live streaming this?
No, not yet. One day. But
No, one day.
we're
We're almost there. We're almost there. At that
almost
point.
there.
Yeah. And don't forget, you can leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and join our Discord. We're having some great conversations in there. Write into the show at hello@TheMoviePodcast.ca. Speaking of Apple Podcasts, a little bit of breaking news, even though it's not breaking because we've talked about it in 3 other episodes so far. We have hit 214 5-star reviews. I don't even know what to say about that. I'm absolutely blown away and so grateful to everybody in Canada, all 214 Canadians that live in this country, for giving us a 5-star review or just reviewing us, leaving a comment. We love reading them out, and we love all the support you've given us because that's the fuel that we need to keep going and doing this every day. So thank you so much. Did you guys have anything you wanted to say about our 5-star celebration?
It's interesting when it comes to, you think of a number like 214 doesn't sound like a huge number because we get thousands of more downloads on episodes. But I think whenever, listening to a podcast is like a passive activity, right? But as soon as you ask someone to do something, right? Do something is what I meant to say.
What kind of parties you going to, man?
No, I'm telling you, I'm not allowed to talk about anything. I'm kidding. As soon as you ask someone to do something, it's another layer to it, right? It's like, oh, I have to rate you 5 stars. But no, I mean, that's that, like, for us and the growth that helps us so much. And I think the last couple weeks, especially, and seeing the growth of our show and this guest that we've had on the show, it's been special. And that really helps us get into the limelight and get into the, the awareness of the studios, and hopefully now Rotten Tomatoes when we apply for it next year. So fingers crossed on that. So thank you to everyone who's been part of this journey so far.
Yes, thank you so much. And again, all that information is available in our show notes down below, so please go ahead and give that a read. I promise you it's going to be very entertaining to read that because there's a lot of cool stuff in there. The link to our Discord is in there as well. We get a lot of emails for people asking us, hey, invite me to your Discord. Buddy, check the show notes. It's right there. So
hey
don't
fella,
you worry. Don't you worry there. Again, the movie that we're talking about today is Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. This is an A24 film directed by Halina, Reijn. We want to thank our friends over at Sony Pictures for inviting us to watch this movie. It'll be coming to theaters August 12th. So, to give us our synopsis, I've got Anthony.
When a group of 20 let me say that again. When a group of rich 20-somethings plan a hurricane party at a remote family mansion, a party game goes a-weary. In this fresh and funny look at backstabbing, fake friends, and one party gone very, very wrong. I am so sorry about reading that synopsis. I do apologize, but I was a little,
You a little nervous?
a little high from the other part.
Oh, no.
No, that's not good. And Daniel, if you want to give us your first reactions to Bodies, Bodies, Bodies.
Yeah, going into this movie, I think you saw the cast, you saw the concept of this film, and you're like, okay, this seems like it's going to be, of all things, it should be at least interesting. And I think what I liked so much about this movie is that it just felt relevant. It felt like a movie of today. It's fresh and it's smart and it's a cool spin on like the slasher flick, which we've gotten a lot of this year with X, with Scream. So we're seeing a lot of horror films of this kind of nature coming back. And I think what's so cool about this movie is that It kind of gave me the vibe of a movie that you'd go to somebody's dorm in university or college, and I think you would see this poster on their wall. Like, it kind of gave me that vibe to it. It has like this cult classic feel to it. And I think that's mostly because the cast is so great and stellar. It's such a product of its time. And I love that it's like this reflection of, of the Gen Z viral worlds, but also dealing with like toxic friendships. And it's just also just put together so incredible. And I think the cast is what sells this movie for me. The cast is what makes this movie special. Their relationships are so believable. You believe that these people are all long-standing friends that all secretly hate each other. And I think there's this realness to it that and whether you want to admit it or not, you have these relationships in your life. You have that fakeness. Everybody has a fake persona that they showcase, right? Or they have this fakeness that they'll show to people even though they secretly don't like them. Everyone does it. You're telling yourself, "No, I'm real with everyone." No, you have a fake side to you. I'm telling you right now, you do. And I think this movie plays a lot with that, and then it plays it. It takes what you expect from a slasher, it takes what you expect from a horror film, and it flips it around, and it has that lens of being in your mid 20s, being in your early 20s, being rich and wanting to be famous or faking it till you make it. And I think that's what worked so well for this movie. And I just left it and I've been thinking about it a lot and I really really liked it.
You talk about the cast, Daniel, and I want to highlight pretty much the cast of this film because it is a small group of people, and there's a lot of names in here that you're like, oh my god, yes, I know who that is. You have Amandla Stenberg, Maria
Yep.
Bakalova, Rachel Sennott, Chase Sue Wonders, Myha'la Herrold, Lee Pace, and Pete Davidson, just to name a few. They're from so many different worlds of movies and franchises, and they're all such up and comers, and this movie proves that. And despite what your feelings are about certain cast members, in their personal lives, they play their roles to a T. Like if
Yeah.
it's Pete Davidson, for example, maybe he's not the most loved person out there because of whatever he does, but it works. Whatever he does in this movie absolutely works. He's such an asshole in this movie, and you're like, man, I really fucking hate this guy. But it works because that's exactly the kind of role and emotions he's trying to evoke out of you. The
Right.
movie does such a great job of subverting your expectations of what a slasher movie should be. And just like you mentioned, Daniel, you're right. This is a movie that you'd see in a dorm room in someone's wall hanging up because it fits that genre of a slasher or a horror film where you don't really know what's going to happen. Every time you think you know what's going to happen, it's a little different. And either the ending's going to upset a lot of people or it's going to make people go like, ah, that makes sense. Like that's where I was with this movie. When it ended, I'm like, wow, that makes total sense. It is so funny. It is so silly, but it makes total sense. And the scares are great. And the comedy is probably the best part. Maria Bakalova, who, we know from Borat fame, and soon we're going to be seeing her in Guardians, voicing Cosmo. She might not be the funniest person in this movie, but she's definitely the audience for this film. She's
Yeah.
guiding us through this.
She's the audience surrogate in this
Yes,
movie, right?
exactly. And
Yeah.
she's guiding us through it. But Rachel Sennott obviously takes the cake in this film. She's hilarious. We last saw her in Shiva Baby, and in here she's absolutely hilarious. But Daniel, go ahead, please. You had something to say.
No, I was just gonna say, like you look at what A24 has released this year, and it's really impressive. Their slate of films this year, they're always a studio that I think has is just constantly delivering great movies, and I think they really know what they want to attach their names to. And it's just like I think what you said so brilliantly, Shay, in our social reactions for this film is that like this is just another win for them this year. They didn't need any more. They could have rode high all year off of Everything Everywhere All at Once, but they came out this year with even more. So it's really impressive.
Absolutely. Anthony, what about yourself? What are your thoughts on bodies, bodies, bodies?
I think Halina did a fantastic job capturing the world that we are currently living in and growing into every day, and taking that idea, that viral social media, uh, Gen Z, like Daniel said, and encapsulating it into this horror. I don't know if it's a horror, but I'm going to say this world of paranoia and being in a house and having this toxicity that's kind of revolving. And I feel sorry for the kids these days, because it's just almost like they have no choice but to go into this path. It's just everyone is kind of like feels the same. And I think there is a lot of people who will watch this and say, yeah, I've been in a situation like this, or I felt very similar to being in a friendship like this. And at the groundwork of it is like, what does a friendship really mean to you? And is it real or is it not? And it's sad to even think that, man, you have to really think about your friends now. Like, and that's that paranoia part that's in this film, where you feel like, can you really trust this person? And I think that's a lot of where this story is like friendship, trusting, and it takes place in, and Halina did a great job of just putting this horror aspect to it. There are parts of it for me, I found like, I could see it coming, the foreshadowing is coming, and I knew that ending was gonna happen. And it's just like, Pete Davidson plays Pete Davidson. But you're right, like, I'm not a big fan of him, and I'm not a big fan of his character, but at the end of it, that's the goal of this film. Like, you're not supposed to like people in this movie, and there's not a lot a lot of people to like. But for a movie that focuses on one environment, which is his home, and then tells a story of, bodies, 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 which is essentially, it's a game very similar to Clue, and all the things that transpire after that is a really fantastic job. I think a lot of people will either like this film or not, and it could be a generational thing. I think our the crowd in our theater, with critics, they laughed a lot, and they weren't of that generation. So we'll see. Some people will like it, some people won't. But I think at the end of it, the film itself is a great job. It's a fantastic narrative of where the world is, and just taking that narrative and putting a horror element to it. And I think Helena did a fantastic job with that.
Yeah, there's so much there, Anthony, that you said that I was like, damn, yeah, Anthony's just he's nailing it. Like that's exactly it. And I
Anthony's
think
not talking
that
gibberish.
no, not at all, not that at all. No, and I think that's what's so special. I think about this movie is that or even with just like us when we critique things, is that there's like a certain lens that we're kind of watching things, and I think lucky for us, like and again, this is more like kind of an inside thing. We're typically always like the youngest, I would say, at a lot of our press screenings. So I think we're the closest in age to a lot of these events that were happening in this film. But what this movie does so well, like you said, Anthony, like you said, Shay, is that it's going to subvert your expectations of what this genre is, because it's being seen and it's being told through the lens of a newer generation. So the generation before it may have reacted a certain way to something, but because it's a totally new voice, totally new people, a totally new generation of of young adults or kids going through this, their way of figuring things out is going to be reflected in that. And I like that. When we think of films from the 90s, they use the technology of their time, or any film really. But like I think of Scream and the telephone and things like that, like those are all very iconic. But what this movie does so well is because it's like these rich kids who are doing drugs and getting drunk, and they want to have like they want to be kind of like these party animals and go crazy in this mansion during a hurricane. That alone is like that is what a lot of what young dumb kids will do today. They're like, yeah, let's have a mansion party during a hurricane. I remember when COVID first happened, and kids were having COVID parties trying to see who would catch COVID first from it. And it's like there's these things that I think maybe it happened in our time too. And again, but we're seeing it more now because it is on social media, because things like this go viral, because things like this get covered so much more. We're seeing it, and it's cool to see that reflected in a film that is, I think, really representative of the time that we live in.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's a lot of cliches that are we find and we see right now that are captured in this film, and these cliches are not just cliches, but things that are just they're more apparent now. There's relationships between two women, for instance, but at a
Yeah,
younger age. But then you don't know, you know, if they're bisexual or they're a lesbian or who's with who, and it's just that I can see that happening with a group of kids now, because there's a lot of kids that are just they don't know what they want, or they don't know
yeah,
they want
it's
to
a lot
just
more fluid now,
fluid,
right?
right? And it's just like that little things like that, or that the viral TikTok dance that's captured now. It's and it plays a big part in this world that is created for these characters. Even being able to being a young woman with a an older male. That's again,
Yeah.
that's not something that's new, but it's just again captured, and we're taking all these cliches from all these different time periods and we're putting it all in one. I think that's what Gen Z really does, is like, let's take everything from all these time periods, the drugs, the sex, the ambiguity of who you want to be with the rest of your life, and then post it on the internet and showcase it for everyone, and then be rich and this and that, and it's all encapsulated in this film. And it really, I think that part is really where I'm like, wow, I'm not a big fan of that world, but what was captured and what was shown to me made sense.
Exactly that. Exactly that. And like one of the things that I think I love that you touched upon is that, we have that older relationship as well with Rachel Sennott's character and Lee Pace, and just like Maria Bakalova's character is kind of like the audience's guide into this Gen Z world where she's of that age, but it doesn't belong in that group. Kind of like how maybe we felt when we we're watching the movie, where we can see what's happening, but we don't belong to it. Lee Pace is that guide for people who are of the older generation who really don't have anything to do with this, and they're just like, I just came here because I like to have fun, I like to party. Maybe I haven't fully grown up yet as the adult that I'm supposed to be, but man, he's fantastic. Like this is the guy that we just saw in the Hobbit films, like, and we just
Yeah.
saw him in
And
Guardians of the
Guardians
Galaxy.
and
Like,
yeah.
this is crazy. Like he's so funny and so good in this. He has a great moment in the middle of the film that I absolutely died at. I think Daniel, you and I were crying.
Yeah,
Um,
there's some jokes in this movie that just had me
Land,
cackling. They land so well, so good, and like
yeah,
this is a film that you want to watch with an audience for sure. I think this
definitely.
is a great movie to watch in a theater crowded with people all reacting to it because it's just so funny.
Absolutely agree. Well, if there's nothing else that you guys want to talk about the film, I think it's safe to say we can get to our recommendations for the movie. Let's start off with Anthony. Anthony, what would you like to tell people about Bodies, Bodies, Bodies?
I would say this is a watch it. I think a lot of people will enjoy it, and I think even though you don't, I think you'll appreciate what you've watched. And there's going to be a lot of talk about the ending. I could definitely see this becoming a cult classic, even though for me personally, I didn't love it. I think a lot of people will. I think a lot of people will be like, wow, this is great filmmaking. And I appreciate that and I respect that. Again, there's going to be some people that just say no, but I think you should give this definitely a chance.
Thank you. Daniel, what about yourself?
I think you should get your body to the theater to watch this movie because it is so good. It's a definite watch it for me. I think when we think of all of the great slashers and horror films that we've gotten in 2022, this stands up there with X for me. This stands up there with Scream 5 for me. There are such great movies that came out this year in this genre, and these are all movies that I'm like, I can't wait for Halloween so I could watch all this new crop of horror films that have been coming out because they're not just horror films anymore. It's like this film is so smart and it's just so fresh. And I think that's what I love so much about it is that it's taking what we know of this genre, it's putting a new spin, it's putting a new generation, it's putting a new lens in all of it. And I think, like I said just a few moments ago, this is a movie you want to watch in a crowded theater. This is a movie you want to see everyone's reactions to because I think people are going to have a great time with it. So please go watch it.
I love this new reinvention of horror that A24 and a lot of these indie studios are bringing, where it's making horror fun. Horror always has been fun in some regards, but it's always meant to keep you just devastated by the end of this. This new kind of horror, it keeps you scared enough till the very end where either your reaction is going to be a laugh or it's going to be a scream. And that's what I love about it, because either way you leave feeling happy in some regard. You kind of feel like the weight's been lifted. And that's why I have to say Bodies, Bodies, Bodies is a watch it. Please go to a theater, watch it with your friends, watch it with your family. There's a lot about this movie that I loved, and I can't wait to revisit it again. As always, you can catch a brand new episode of the Movie Podcast every single Monday, and watch out throughout the week for our review episodes on all the latest movies and series. Make sure you're following us at the Movie Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Letterboxd. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Join our Discord right into the show at hello@TheMoviePodcast.ca. That was our review of Bodies, 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 and that was This Time with the Movie Podcast. And we'll see you next.